Ciryl Gane versus Alexander Volkov. Rematch. Ciryl Gane favored at 135. Volkov underdog 333. Volkov underdog 330. And it will start at 135, not at 305. What are the differences from the last fight? Well, 3 rounds accordingly, right? And also, Volkov has changed something small about himself. What I will talk about next, well, how did he change? Worked on some things, let's say. Probably, that would be more correct. But before that, be sure to subscribe on Boosty. There are analyses of the entire tournament in text format. Also subscribe to Telegram. Sure to like this channel on YouTube. Be sure to like. The tournament starts on December 8th at 2 AM Moscow time. So, what about us? We are just starting to talk to you about the matter. Let's go. So, Volkov. What did Volkov work on? He worked on his conditioning because he trained for a long time in UCPIE. He trained and trained. Well, now Sasha is really a heavyweight. And athletic too. He used to be just tall and quite skinny. Then he became very big, but somewhat clumsy. Well, now he seems to have found his way. Well, he's still big at 117 kilograms. In the last fight, for example, I weighed 119, but still, the guy is healthy. What can I say? The guy is healthy. And that mass he has right now is really functional. In the first fight with Gane, he was 120, and could see the difference there. I even specifically opened the fight with Gane and the fight with Pavlovich. With Pavlovich, he even looks more graceful, more refined. Clearly, the training in UFC PI is not in vain. The work on his conditioning is really noticeable. Has he become more flexible or what? Volkov, what is he? Tall, super, long-armed, super. A really big guy. A very big guy. Volkov is a fighter who fights on the front leg. In a front leg karate stance. Bam bam. Through his leg. Bam bam. He threw his leg. So this is Alexander Volkov. Not a counterpuncher. There isn't much footwork. We stand firmly on our feet. Well, actually, this is Alexander Volkov. People are saying now, for example, that he has some kind of super jiu-jitsu. It has awakened. But I will reveal a secret to you, okay? If we go back all the way to 6 years ago, when he fought Fabricio Werdum. Well, you know, to lie down for 2 or however many rounds he lay with Werdum, and everything was fine, he didn't really take much damage. Well, of course, no submission got to him because he knocked Werdum out in the 4th round. It's like saying that the guy had jiu-jitsu, and there was never really any doubt about it. Well, except of course when Thomas Penal came out and doubted it, and then arm locked him. Well, Thomas Penal, there's nothing more to say here. There's nothing more to say about the Penal here. This guy's from another planet, like a kind of Clark Kent of the current heavyweight division. Volkov just turned 36, which is quite a normal age for a heavyweight. He definitely isn't getting worse. Is he getting better? Possibly in some moments. He is incredibly experienced, having fought 48 heavyweight fights, which is a lot. Out of those, he lost early 5 times. Well, it happens. Heavyweights are quite rare, and finding a good heavyweight is not that easy. Volkov's grappling is somewhat lacking. Take his fight, Tuivasa for example. Until he finally knocked him out. He managed to take him down once, but Tuivasa got back up without any issues. Volkov was trying something, making some effort, but Tuivasa got back up quite easily. But then he didn't get back up. Yes, that was an easy kill. Let's just take a look at whom Volkov has taken down. So, 1 takedown in the fight against Curtis Blades compared to 14 from Blades, not bad. Then 2 against Werdum, 2 against Struve, and 1 against Timothy Johnson. So, we don't really grapple much. And in the recent fights, we also haven't been grappling much. He's a pretty static guy, and his style actually suits punches very well because punches are mostly static as well, like Tuivasa and Pavlovich. They give him time to aim, because he is long and tall, which allows him a certain amount of time to work on them, so punches and Volkov really match well. Yes, there was a small mistake when he faced Lewis. It happens. Let's say he got distracted. Again, I consider this an anomaly, not a rule. Overall, everything else with Volkov is good, so regarding the fight with Lewis, I would probably just take it and forget it. Let's move on to Ciryl Gane. Very mobile. He, unlike Volkov, is more on his back foot. He can also counter well. He explodes very well and closes the distance effectively. Although, to be honest, he himself is not a small guy. Certainly smaller than Volkov. Yes, he is 193 cm tall, but his arms will be longer. Still, the height difference is noticeable. Yes, it is really noticeable. Even if we look at their first fight, it's unlikely that either of them has grown since then. I seriously doubt it. And to be honest, yes, in general it's hard to doubt Gane. He is 34, turning 35 in April. Now let's go through it. I won't take the fight, for example, with Rzeno Strake, Dos Santos, Volkov, Lewis. It's all clear here. Well, from what has happened, I mean it's clear, but maybe everything is already clear with this fight too. I'm just sitting here and dragging it out. The fight with Ngannou was super close. If he hadn't gone for the heel hook, he would have won against Ngannou in the 5th round. This is actually quite something. It's really good. Not bad because Ngannou, well, in MMA is not countered yet, and there Ngannou couldn't impose anything significant on him even in stand-up. Then there was the fight with Tuivasa, where he also got a bit careless and got hit, sat back down. Well, it happens. Again, I categorize this in a section of anomalies. Such a thing happens once in 10 fights, for example, maybe once. 100, it doesn't matter. The fact is, I think this is a very, very rare occurrence. Well, it happens. Then what do we have as a plus? What distinguishes Gane from Volkov? He fights spectacularly. Volkov also fights spectacularly, but Gane takes a lot of risks. That is, he can stand at a distance, break, kick, just hit with rear hands explosively. For example, on a burst he can add a rear punch, or go to the body and step back. He enters close with his hands down, for example, catching with his knee here, for instance, an elbow, something else, and his hands are somewhere around here. That is, he doesn't think about defense 100% of the time. Well, he kind of walks on the edge, let's say. Well, what Gane has, of course, is there. Then we have Jon Jones. Because of the fight with Jon Jones, Gane became a piece of trash for everyone. As I understand it, right? But again, I don't know at all if I should be doing this, but I understand him. Should I be understanding, I mean, but I understand him. You're fighting with Jon Jones, a legendary figure, unbelievable. If it's with Stipe Miocic, he's already an old-timer and also a legend in some sense. Well, he fought Jones, well, okay, well, he's a good fighter, yeah, a cool fighter, well, he's a fighter, yeah. Gane most likely grew up watching Jon Jones's fights, meaning he essentially fought against an idol, similar to how, for example, Alexander Rondanos fought Cowboy. Well, it's probably hard to fight, I think that purely mentally. Gane simply couldn't handle it. And in addition to everything, Jon Jones, forgive me, but Jon Jones is Jon Jones. At the moment, the guy is not being countered and doesn't plan to be countered either. But then Sergey Spivak, well, Gane just took him, stretched him out, and that's it, and moved on. He completely outclassed him. Well, look at the statistics. 109 to 11 in strikes. Gane doesn't have much power. Well, he's not a puncher, to be honest. He hits a lot. Here, for example, there was a fight between Dakota Dicheva and Tayla Santos. She kept picking at her, and finally she picked at her enough to get that body. And Gane also throws a lot of boom, 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 boom. He just wears you down, it all accumulates, and then it ends. So that he can just hit you once and you're like, that's it, I'm... But with Gane, this is not particularly observed. I think that Volkov's strikes, to be honest, are more powerful. He's also not a puncher, but when he starts swinging his hammers, first of all, he does it standing up. I think he even stands in a frontal stance at that moment, more or less, like Poirier. But in any case, his stance is such that he gets heavily drained. And the same goes for Tuivasa, for example. But he really messed him up in the first round. Everything was already flowing. Wolf hits hard. If he starts to get into it, you can see there's some madness there. But neither of them is even close to Ngannou. So that's the conclusion. What can I say? It seems to me that Ciryl Gane will dance here again. He will dance and win by decision. Somewhere, he might get hit, but don't believe that Volkov will dominate him. Like Jon Jones, excuse me. I really don't believe it. Well, I mean, guys, really, don't compare one thing to another, Because Jon Jones, after all, his wrestling and everything else about Jon Jones, understanding, well, dude, really, he's something out of this world. As I see it, Jon Jones won't fight anyone in the heavyweight division. Maybe even further. He will leave the train because he said so. He will drop down to light heavyweight to take on Pereira, because the promotion will tell him that he needs to fight, buddy. He will say a million millions. They will say, of course, you're great, a good fighter, but here's 100 rubles, let's go. He will say no, and that's it. He will say he wants to fight Pereira. They will tell him to drop down to light heavyweight. He leaves the belt, and then we see a title fight between Spinal and Gane. It's quite a realistic option. Interesting. Really interesting. Despite the fact that yes, Gane has it. But he messed up a little in wrestling a couple of times. It happens. That's the story. Volkov is definitely a good fighter. It is unlikely to be an easy fight for Gane. It clearly won't be an easy fight. Wouldn't say that the first technical fight was easy for him either. It was close. It was even in moments. Yes. But a little, Gane was taking it. Little, but he was taking it. A little, but he was taking it. Well, a little, but he took it. So the guy ended up taking all 5 rounds, you know. A rule is that the younger fighter wins in a rematch and does it even more confidently. So, how much more confidently than 50-45? Much more confidently than 50-45, right guys? I don't know, myself. Well anyway, Gane should win. That's what I think. I think he is definitely more agile, faster, while Sasha is not a counterpuncher. If Sasha were a counterpuncher, he could have landed a good shot on him in response. Maybe it would have been good. Well, he'll land punches, but again, Alexander Volkov isn't a fool. He's a serious guy overall. Though he jokes around and finished his studies at Bauman, the guy is serious seriously. I personally wouldn't advise fighting him, especially in a cage, in a serious fight. That's my opinion. But the fight is undoubtedly interesting. 2 good heavyweights. Great. If Volkov advances further, I will honestly say that I would probably be glad, because he is still our Russian athlete. It would be nice to watch it in the future. In any case, both of them are like, and Spinal will say something like, well, come on, and what should we do? And he will win, right? But regarding how long the fight will last, yes, probably the 3rd round will start, so I think that a full fight will probably happen. Well, how much is Spivak? Gane. How much is he? Spivak. So where are you? Yeah. We kicked with Pivak. Well, it's 8 minutes and 44 seconds. Well, Volkov is probably a bit stronger. Yes. And again, speaking of wrestling, so again with Spivak, that guy who should be wrestling, he seems to do it quite well, right? With Lewis, he had 6 takedowns, Sakai 6 takedowns, Gakaridi, well of course who he wrestled is clear, but nevertheless, Savnu and Tibura, wow. And he should probably have wrestled Ciryl Gane instead of Volkov. Probably, yes. Well, there might be some mistake, and they could end up on the ground, while Volkov might take the round, possibly, of course. Well, we'll see. But I think Gane should win. Gane winning by decision is more likely, and over 1.5, for example, also looks like a good option, in my opinion. I wish good luck to Sasha Volkov, but sorry dude, I have my own job. It's beneficial for me to succeed. That's it guys, all done. Subscribe to Boosty and definitely subscribe to Telegram. Links are pinned and in the description of this video. You guys liked the video and subscribe to YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to Telegram so you don't get lost. Who knows what will happen tomorrow? Who knows? Where will you look for videos later, huh? So subscribe and you'll be looking for knowledge. That's it. Thank you all very much for your attention. We'll meet on the stream of this tournament. Let's watch together. Goodbye everyone.